Welcome to the National Center for Biblical Parenting. I'm glad that you're with us. We take time on a regular basis to look at specific families and try to troubleshoot needs in those families. So today we're going to talk to Barb on the phone. We'll find out what's going on in her family and try to troubleshoot some of the things that are going on with her. Barb, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Okay, let me find out a little bit about who lives in your home. Let's start with that. I need to know your name, so I've got Barb, and then I need to know who we're going to be talking about and how old is that person.
Okay, we're going to be talking about David, and he's 14 years old.
Okay, and we're talking about David, who's 14. Now, just tell me the ages of the other children living in your home.
Okay, Jarrett is 22.
Okay.
Gabriel is 18.
Okay.
And David is 14.
Okay, so we've got Jay, Gabriel, and David. And your husband's name is?
Michael.
Okay, so that's who lives in your home now, is that correct?
Plus my parents that have their own apartment.
Okay, so they live at least nearby you, upstairs in an apartment or nearby an apartment. Okay. And are Jay, Gabriel, and David the natural-born parents of Barb and Michael?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm ready. Tell me what's going on in your family and how I can help you.
Okay, well, he is, I don't know if you want me to start with the good or the bad.
That's up to you. I'm going to write down a bunch of things here, and after I listen to you talk, then I may ask you some more questions. So you can talk about whatever you want to talk about here.
Okay, he was born a strong-willed child.
Okay.
And ever since he was 2 years old, he has been very demanding and strong-willed. So we're at a point right now that he is 14 years old. He's gotten himself into some trouble over the years, and it seems that he goes from one foolish decision to another. And even though we reprimand him and discipline him and talk to him, he wants to gain trust. He has a sincere heart, I think. He can be sensitive and hardworking, and he's adventurous, and he's a total boy.
Okay.
But he seems to still be making foolish decisions, even though our discipline has gotten stricter and stricter. So, not only, though, when he's in our home, you know, and not being punished, he still is disrespectful. He pushes every button. He, you know, he's sarcastic. He's demeaning. You know, he can just give everybody a hard time unless you say yes to everything.
Okay.
If you say no, then he starts, you know, I say he pulls out like a deck of cards and seems to go through, well, you know, just naming things to try and, you know, pull us into an argument.
Okay. I
then react with patience in the beginning, but it ends up that he harasses back and forth. It's back and forth that I end up raising my voice. He ends up getting punished. And, you know, for whatever that day his plans were, you know, if he gives us a hard enough time, he's then usually punished. And he knows. I warned him.
Mm-hmm.
So he, you know, he gets spoken to. Right now, you know, we're dealing with why I felt so desperate. About 2 weeks ago, he snuck out of the house in the middle of the night, and I caught him. So he's kind of punished indefinitely right now. He's in, and, you know, I'm not really letting him out. I took his phone. He doesn't have a computer. You know, and he's fine coming home, doing homework. You know, he whines that he's bored, but he's been finding things to do at home.
Okay.
So we're at like about 2 weeks from this episode, but I just feel like he's at a point right now where I need to make a decision other than counseling. If he, honestly, we were considering military school.
Wow, okay.
He's getting in trouble at school, not really trouble in bad ways, but just not listening to the teachers and doing what they're asking. It takes several times for them to speak to him about something to get him to finally do it.
Okay.
And yeah, he seems to get spoken to. You know, he fights with his brother because he gives him a hard time. My husband gets home about 7:30 every night. He gives him a hard time. And then he could be an absolute sweetheart for the evening, and sometimes even for several days.
Okay.
So it's exhausting.
I bet it is.
And we feel like we're just going in a vicious cycle, like nothing's really penetrating. Even though he's not repeating his foolish decisions, he seems to move on to different ones.
Okay. When you say he's not repeating them, are you saying that he's gotten into some trouble and then he doesn't go back to that same kind of trouble?
Right. Right. Yeah, a couple years ago we caught him. He had done some vandalism.
Okay.
About 2 years ago we caught him smoking.
Okay.
About a year ago we found some pot in his room.
Okay.
He's been spoken to about his sarcasm from his teachers, from his baseball coach, from, us. People, some men at church have spoken to him because he's been, disrespectful. And then 2 weeks ago we caught him sneaking out, but I found out that it was like the fourth time that he had done it.
Okay. Do you know where he's going?
No, he said he was going to have some friend's older brother pick them up. And he wouldn't really say where they were going, but it was 1:45 in the morning, so that's scary enough.
All right, so he's been going out in the middle of the night, and this is the fourth time, so he's with some friends that you don't know, or you do know? Or?
No, I don't know them. I mean, I may know the brother, but they're his friend, but I don't know the older brother.
Okay. All right.
And we just don't want him to keep repeating, we just don't know how to get through it. And believe me, we've had numerous conversations, and we sit down, we're calm, we set goals, we write out a plan, we discuss it with him, he's in agreement, he's very, compliant once he knows he's in trouble. He's very compliant, he's sorry, we always say we love each other to each other. We're a family that hugs and kisses, and we do things together. We have fun. It's not like we have trauma, or any kind of anything going on really in our family.
Okay.
My husband and I are happily married.
Okay, and you guys are Christians?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, my husband's not, but he's very supportive, and yes, he's in agreement, but he hasn't,
okay.
personally take that step.
All right. Let me ask you about a couple of things about David. Would David consider himself a believer?
Yes, he would. Yes, he does.
And so David willingly goes to church with you, is that correct?
Most of the time.
Okay, and
60-70% of the time, yes.
When he doesn't go to church with you, he stays home by himself, or maybe with his dad?
No, my husband's home on Sundays, and that's his one day off, so he does not come to church with us at all.
Okay. All right, so go ahead.
And my middle son was coming to church with us, but then, he got pulled away was working, and then he's not working. Now he doesn't want to go to church, so he's attending like a youth, where they have their own Bible study once a week.
Great. That's good.
So he's cashed that in our church for that. And I said, as long as you're getting that. So really it is David and I when we go to church.
Okay. And is David involved in a youth group at church?
No.
Is there a youth group at church for him to be involved in?
Not really.
All right. Okay. Let me just step back and make a couple of statements, and then I want to ask you some more questions.
Okay.
You said that you guys are considering military school for him. Let me just explain to you what this looks like on the broader scale. There are only 4 different stages that we work on here. Stage 1 is we try to deal with it within our family. And when we can deal with it within our family, then that's great.
Yes.
But if we can't deal with it there, we've got to get other people involved. So now you're getting me involved. We've got school
Yes.
counselors involved. You've got teachers involved. Maybe you've gotten the police involved. And if you haven't, that might be a good thing to get involved in his life. Has he been in trouble with the police?
Yes, the time that he did the vandalism about 2 years ago.
Okay, good. So getting other
The
people
police were involved.
Good. All right. That's good. So getting other people involved may mean counseling. It may mean requiring him to go to youth group or a youth group or something like that so that he's with other leaders and authorities. He's already in school. That's the second category of help. We've escalated one level. A third level is voluntary treatment facility, like a military school or going to live at a U-Turn for Christ or the Flock in Vermont. There's one in New York State I heard about that seems to be pretty good. I think it has the word victory in it or something like that. So those are voluntary treatment facilities that young people go to that are actually very helpful for them if they can't live at home and work things out at home. And if that doesn't work and a young person's unwilling to do that, then there's only one more stage, and that is a forced treatment facility that involves some kind of incarceration or alternative home or something like that. So that's what it looks like on the broader scale. Let's try to move back now and keep this, see what we can do. We'll do as much as we can to keep this in your home and make things work. Let me ask some more questions about David. How's he doing at school?
When he applies himself, he does well. And he's proud of himself when he does well.
Okay,
but if he does not apply himself, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. So what? You know, he got a 69 on his vocabulary test yesterday. Oh, well, you know. But when he does good, you know, it's, Mom, look, I got an 87 or I got a 92, and he's, you know, proud to.
Okay.
And that's even with some studying, but he could have, you know, for whatever reason, he's studying at the last minute or, you know.
Now, what grade is he in?
9th.
Okay, he's in 9th grade. And would you say his grades are what you would expect, or is he passing? I guess let's start that way.
Yes, he's passing.
He could probably do better, but okay.
Right. He had like an A, a couple B's, and a C and 1 D last year. So.
What did he get the D in?
I think it was language.
Okay. When I ask you how he's doing at school, I really want to know 3 things. One is how he's doing academically. And you're telling me that he's doing reasonably well at academically. He's passing his classes. That's going to be important.
Right.
Okay. The
yes,
second
he's
question.
handing in his work.
Okay. The second question is, how's he doing with authority at school?
Not good.
I've
already have at least a dozen complaints or dozen write-ups that they call them.
Okay, what are they doing about that at school? Are they disciplining him in some way?
Yeah. Yes, he's already had 2 lunch detentions, and he's already been put out of one of the classes just for that next day.
Okay, and
They speak to him.
You're working with the school to develop some kind of an action plan for him at home and at school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
I've had 2 lengthy conversations with 2 teachers so far.
And so those teachers know that you support what they're doing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's really important because some parents don't support what's going on at the school and criticize the school and so on. So you really want other leaders and authorities involved in his life. And so I would encourage those teachers by sending them notes saying, hey, I know David may not listen to you, or it appears that he doesn't listen to you, but I want you to know there are some sensitivities that he does have in his heart, and he does pay attention to you. And in fact, you're telling me 2 things that are heart-related so far that are important to me. One is he's proud of himself when he does a good job. That is something that is significant, and I would pass that on to the teachers because they can reinforce that, not just on a behavior modification approach, but that's a heart issue, a heart benefit. If he's proud of himself when he does well, that's the conscience at work, okay? So we want to take advantage of that. The second thing you're telling me is that he is compliant, or he is repentant maybe even when he knows he's in trouble. There's a responsiveness that he has when he's gotten in trouble. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Are they seeing that at school too, that he's responsive when he gets into trouble, or does he put on a front there?
No, they do. They see that he responds and he does talk to them, and it's gone well as far as that.
Great. Those two things are really important, and we're going to have to capitalize on those. Now, let me ask you this. What are you asking me in this particular session? What would you like me to do for you?
Well, I think you kind of already, basically, I just wanted to see if what I'm doing, I mean, he's just been difficult since he was little.
Yes.
He thinks he knows everything. He likes to be the center of attention. He will argue to the end. Like, I don't know if I'm helping him. That's the thing. I don't know if now I've taken everything away and he has really no date of him being, free to go. In fact, I told him he's going to have to choose new friends. So, and he's...
Right. So what you're saying is, at this point, you're trying to get him, how do we re-enter back into life after this restriction he's been on for the last 2 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or now I've talked to him about perhaps sending him to a school, where they, like a military school, because we've looked into it. And he very often will say, just send me, Mom, just send me. So... I really want to do what's best for his future. My husband works 6 days a week. He's a lot of work, and he's 14 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you're in high school, things need to start changing, you're older, and then we were shocked. If I tell you how shocked I was to find out that he snuck out, I just feel like I don't want to lock his door. Like, how do I can't stay up at, you know what I mean? How do I don't know if we're helping him, because he doesn't seem to be making...
Okay.
You know what I mean? He seems to go from one bad friend, birds of a feather flock together. It seems like one wild group to another.
All right, let me say a number of things that may help you continue to work with him, okay? I think I'd rather see him stay at home and you continue to work with him until it gets to the place where you feel like that just isn't working at all. But there's a number of indications here that tell me you still do have even small bits of influence on his life. So I'd hang in there at this point and not necessarily send him away yet.
Yeah, the thought of it breaks my heart, believe me. Okay,
well, let's not go there yet. Let's first talk about his developmental stage. I don't want to excuse his behavior, because his behavior is wrong, but we have to understand where he is developmentally. He's in the first stage of adolescence. There are 3 stages to adolescence, and the first stage of adolescence is often controlled by emotion. And so someone who's between the ages of 12 to 16, give or take a year, often is making emotional decisions and is dominated by their emotions. They tend to be more moody. They tend to react to life situations with emotion and not necessarily a lot of thought. They don't usually make wise decisions because they're making impulsive decisions based on how they feel. So these children will often eat junk food, or they'll stay up late at night, or they'll delay their homework in order to play a video game. All of that's emotionally driven behavior. In fact, a lot of young adolescent males are driven toward video games because it feeds their sense of emotional high. So you just got to understand that's where we are. Now, I know he's 14, and I said this is going to go till about 16, so that gives you a little bit of ways to go. But I want to tell you about the next stage of adolescence, because you can bring on some of the benefits of the second stage now as you're working with him, all right?
Okay.
The second stage of adolescence starts from about 16 and goes to maybe around 20, give or take a year. And it's characterized by having a mission-oriented view of life. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm going to do in life. And even if it's unreasonable. So if someone says to me, I'm going to be a professional baseball player, well, you know, there's very few people that make it into professional baseball, but that doesn't make any difference to me. I'll say, okay, great. What does that mean you're going to do now? How are you going to prepare for that now? Because the best baseball players are working now to become those professionals. What are you doing? As soon as young people take on a perspective of life that has some kind of a goal, which may be being an athlete or getting married or taking on a job of some kind that they're working toward, or developing a musical instrument, or going to college, those are all goals. As soon as a young person starts making one of those goal decisions, then they stop making decisions based on emotions, and they use their goals to drive them a little bit further. So they stop eating junk food because they want to be healthy in their body, or they study harder because they go into college.
They have a goal.
It sounds to me like he gets good enough grades to go to school, to go to college. What does he think about that at this point?
Yes, he wants to go to college.
Okay, good. He's told you that.
Well, he wants to be a chef, he said. All my kids have wanted to be chefs at one time or another.
They must love your cooking.
I let them cook, so I guess they like working in the kitchen.
Well, you're doing a good job. That's great. All right, so he wants to be a chef. Okay, so he wants to go to school to become a chef. That's a great goal. And so we want to take that and run with it. It would be wise then for you now, while he's 14, to check into some schools that offer chef curriculum, so that you can find out what's required to get in those schools, and you can find out what prerequisites would be good. It'd be good for him to talk to a chef. I mean, you can set up an appointment to meet with the local chef at one of your fancy restaurants near your home.
Oh, yeah.
And if he could meet with that person and learn more about what it's like to be a chef, he may start developing some more goals in life and drop off some of this immature decisions that he's involved in. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
We're working on a heart level here. What we're trying to do is retrain some of his desires that are in the heart to move forward. All right, I'm going to jump to another piece of information. Do you have, do you monitor his internet access?
He doesn't have any. He gets no internet.
How does he make arrangements to go out with his friends?
With his phone.
Do you have any way of managing his phone or working with that?
Well, he doesn't have his phone anymore.
But I mean,
yes, there are periods of usually that's the first thing that I take from him.
Okay.
And I can look over his phone and see everything. You know, I have passwords and everything, so. But we do give it back to him when he's free to roam, as I like to say. But yes, you know, right now he doesn't have anything. He hasn't had a computer in a while, and then now he doesn't have his phone at all.
Okay, there's a program. I'm trying to find it real quick for you. Hold on just a second. I'm not finding the name of this. I thought it was Jazit, but that's not coming up as one of the choices. At any rate, there is a phone program out there for young people that has just recently come out that I thought was rather remarkable. It's a program that allows you to watch his text messages, track his phone calls, and so on, and that may be helpful for you if you're trying to hold him accountable. Okay? All right, let's go back. Okay, let's go back to reentry. You're trying to get him to reenter back into life. Is he ready to do that?
Yeah, well, he just started asking if he'll be able to go out this weekend.
Okay, for the last 2 weeks, has he responded well to your authority?
Yeah, well, actually, I said yesterday was the first day I felt that he's calming down. You know, he seems to be not so irritable and grumpy and complainy. Yesterday we actually had a great day, and he just kind of, you know, it was like, it just was pleasant to just be together.
Okay. His freedom should be linked to 3 things. Okay. 1, doing well at school. Number 2, that he's doing well at home. That means contributing to home life with his brother with you, with Dad, with chores, with helping around. That's the second thing. The third thing is that he's involved in church. Now, when he gets a little older, a fourth thing will be that he is working, that he's got a job and he's doing well with that. But I suppose at this point he doesn't have a job. Is that correct?
Correct, but he would like a job.
Great. Again, that's another way for other leaders and authorities to be involved in his life. So what you want is somebody else telling him to clean up his mess and get here on time. I mean, that's responsibility, and you want somebody else like that involved in his life. So that'd be really good.
Yeah.
All right, so I think you ought to meet with him now, and you ought to say to him, son, I think that yesterday we had a great day. It's always great if you can affirm him and help him see that he's moving in the right direction. And I get the impression that he appreciates that when you do that. Yes.
Well, I'm always trying. Like the other night I was in his room and he said, get out of my room. And I said, how about Mom, could you please leave my room? You know, and then he's just not not compliant that way.
Okay.
He just wants to, if he's in a bad mood, he wants everybody to know it.
Okay.
But yes, I do, when he does do, I'm always praising him for things that he does well. I mean, if he does help out, he doesn't give me a complaint about helping out, doing chores.
Okay. That's demonstrating responsibility. Responsibility and privilege go together. Very important concept that he needs to understand, and that's how we're making decisions about whether to give you freedom or not. You want freedom to leave our home. You want freedom to go out and on the weekend and do something. I'm willing to talk about that. And the reason I'm willing to talk about that, son, is because I've seen that you've been more responsible at home. You've been helping out, you've been cordial, you've been adding. Now, when I came into your room yesterday and you started giving me that attitude and told me to get out of your room, that's not a good response, all right? What I'm looking for is a way for you to be responding well to us. You may not like it, you may not feel good, but that doesn't give you an opportunity to mistreat me, okay?
Right.
So all of that is responsibility, but because you're seeing some responsibility, you may be ready to allow him to have some freedom. Now, freedom is going to come with him because he's been deceptive or snuck out of the house. Now we're going to have to earn back some trust. Does that make sense?
Right, yes. That's what I'm nervous about.
Okay.
Because he's one that it's not like he'll make plans with a friend. He'll go off in the neighborhood with a skateboard or on his bike. And then I have called him, where are you? And very often I will ask where he is, and then I will tell him, I'll be by. And I will actually come over and just check on him, how you doing? And just to see that is where he is. And he knows that. So I kind of warned him beforehand. I might be calling and...
Good.
I might stop over just as a friendly thing.
How does he respond
to that? Of course, he knows I'm checking up on him, but I said, I just want to make sure that you're being honest. So
okay, let me explain.
I've done that.
Let me show you how to explain that to him, okay, so he understands it. This will be something that will help him for the rest of his life. So you just need to understand. Do you have a pencil and paper?
Oh, I'm writing, believe me.
Okay, here's what I would do. I would write down, let's talk about integrity, because integrity contains with it a package. And it contains these four things in the package, and this is what he's earning back now. He's earning back what we call the benefit of the doubt. When there's some question, we give you the benefit of the doubt if you've been honest. If you haven't been honest, then you lack integrity, you lose that benefit of the doubt. And so now when something's wrong and you're late at home, we wonder, what he's into now. Is he being a vandal again, or is he into some drugs or something? So he loses the benefit of the doubt. That's the first thing. The second thing he loses is trustworthiness. Trustworthiness is a privilege. And when a person is trustworthy, then they have this ability to, it's like this. If you say, hey, David, I'm going to go to the neighbor's house, you stay here and work on your homework. And then when... that's if he's trustworthy. If he's not trustworthy, then you're going to say, hey, David, I got to go to the neighbor's house. You're coming with me, you see.
Right. That's where I'm at now.
All right. So that's really important. He's lost trustworthiness. He needs to earn it back. I'm going to show you how, and you want him to understand how to earn it back too. Okay? The third thing he
Okay.
loses is the privilege of privacy. Now you're going to be coming and checking in his backpack or looking in his bedroom. You're going to be looking around to see if he's doing the right thing, because that's
Right.
your job. You're checking up on him.
And I do it. Yes, and I do it.
Okay, so the privilege, and we always need to be doing that to a certain extent, but he loses some of that privilege of privacy that he might have otherwise, okay? And the fourth thing he loses is the personal peace inside of doing the right thing. You know, now when you call him and you say, David, if he's guilty, he's going to, oh no, Mom figured it out. But if he hasn't
Right.
done anything wrong, then, and you call David, you say, oh, what you want, Mom? If the
Right.
principal calls him and says, David, you need to come to the principal's office, he's going, oh no, they found out about me, if he's guilty.
Right.
But if he's been honest and has integrity, he says, oh, I wonder why they're calling me. Maybe they're going to give me a reward or something. You see,
Right.
there's a personal freedom on the inside. He needs to understand that. Okay,
Right.
that's
and want it.
it's, well, we hope he'll want it. But that's what we're going to force him or try to train him to earn back. But if he understands what we're doing, he may be responsive and cooperate. Whether he cooperates or not, we're going to help him develop that by doing exactly what you're doing, and that is what we call checking up on him.
Right.
Now, we're checking up on him because we're what I call building the road back. And this comes from the Bible passage in the Old Testament of Jacob, who was a deceiver. That's what his name means. His name means deceiver. And he was the one who tricked his brother out of his birthright, and it tricked his father out of the blessing that was supposed to go to his brother. He had to run away. He lived with his uncle Laban, and he worked with him. But in Genesis 30:33, it says something like this. He says, let my honesty testify for me in the future, because if you ever find one of the speckled animals, then and it doesn't belong to me, then you'll know that I've stolen it.
Right.
So let my honesty testify for me. He says, check up on me. That's exactly what we're going to be doing with him. We're going to be checking
Right.
up on David, and he needs to know that's part of what we're going to do. I'm checking up on you to see if you are, not to see if you're failing, but I'm checking up on you to see if you're being successful in doing what you said.
Right.
And here's why.
Prove you.
Every time you check up, it's like this road back that's built with all these bricks or pavers, and every time you pick up a brick and check it, you can put it back down there, and you can feel confident that that he's doing the right
Yes.
thing, and you'll build
Yes.
back the trust, and that's what he
Yes.
needs to do. That's how you build back the trust, by checking up on him, holding him accountable, and checking up. Ask him, where are you going? I want to see. And if there's something bad going on at school, before they report it to me, you report it to me. All of that is building integrity, and that'll help him move along.
Right. And
Now-
I have been doing that.
Okay, but what I'm encouraging you to do is explain this to him in more detail as you're
Yes,
giving him
yes.
freedom. All right?
Sure.
Freedom comes with a price, and that is the price of having integrity and being checked up on and being responsible. Privilege and responsibility go together. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, let me look over some of the things. Okay, let's talk about you getting angry for just a moment, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds to me like you're pretty good at laying down consequences.
Yeah.
Okay, the anger, though, will cause distance in your relationship with him. So I would encourage you not to use anger as an emotion in the discipline process. But I'd rather see you use sadness. That you're saying to him, David, oh man, I'm disappointed that you did that. Not necessarily disappointed in you. I'm disappointed that you did that. Now,
Right.
now you're going to have to lose the privilege of your cell phone, or you're not going to be on the internet, or you're going to have to come home, miss out on that activity. And so
Right.
you want to be firm, but firmness is very important at this age. It's very important with this particular problem, because firmness develops character. That's heart stuff that we want in him. So you have to be firm, but you don't have to be angry. You don't have to pour
Right.
emotional intensity into this to show him that you mean business. Just give him a consequence, like you're
Right.
doing, and appeal to him on a heart level. That way, I think you'll go a lot further. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Hold on just a second. There we go. Said somebody came on and I need to mute them. All right, let's go back to you've taken everything away from him.
Yeah.
That's a statement that you made. And then I want to talk about these two heart things that I'm seeing that are really significant for him. But,
Okay.
But you've taken everything away. Okay, so when you take privileges away, that's a good consequence. But when you take them away, you want to set it up from the beginning that I'm taking them away, and the way you get them back is not by waiting a particular length of time.
Okay.
It's by earning them back.
Okay.
You want to be thinking in your mind, what heart qualities does David need to demonstrate in his life? One of them he needs to demonstrate is respect. That's what you want in the home, or value, or honor. Those are things you want in the home. And you're saying to him, son, one of the things I'm looking for is a heart quality in you, not behavior. Don't focus on behavior. The behavior comes out of the heart. Focus on what you're trying to teach him on a heart level.
Okay.
So, and you're doing it because this is something that will help you for the rest of your life. It's not just so I'm happy or I'm not irritated with you. It's something that will help you for the rest of your life. If you can learn how to be honoring at home when you disagree with what I'm doing, then you'll be much more effective later on as you're in the workplace, or you're on a team, or you're even your own family someday. So honor is something we're looking for. Honor, responsibility, to be able to cooperate, give up his agenda. Those heart qualities are what you're looking for. And so you say to him, son, I'm going to take your cell phone away. I'm going to take away your privilege to go out with your friends for a while. And I want you to show me that you're doing well at home, at school, and at church. And when I see that you're doing well, I will give you back your freedom. So don't say you lose your privileges till the end of the year, or till the next 2 weeks.
I didn't really put a date.
Good. Because I think,
yes.
and I think exactly what's happening here is good in your situation, because he's coming and saying, hey, I'm changing. When do I get my freedom back? Right?
Right.
Okay, and I think you're saying you're changing, and that's why I'm going to give you your freedom back in pieces, and I'm going to see how you're doing.
Right.
I really appreciate the way you've been cooperating around the house. You've been adding, you've been doing your chores. I really appreciate that. You've been adding energy around here. I think you're doing pretty well at school, although you've got that one paper that didn't get turned in. You need to work on that. I like it that you're doing well there too. I like it that you're coming to church with me on a regular basis. Those are all things I'm evaluating as I'm making a decision about whether to give you some freedom. And because you're doing those things, I'm ready to say yes to some things, not everything.
Okay.
Because I want you to be careful about some of the temptations that are out there. And you need to have a talk with him now about the temptations, and he needs to learn how to guard his own heart. Not you guarding his heart all the time. I mean, you're going to still have to do that. But the whole thing is we're trying to get him to guard his own heart to make this work. Does that make sense?
Totally, yes.
So, son, I've seen that in the past you've been attracted by friends to get involved in pot, or to get involved in vandalism, or to get involved in smoking. And there are a lot of dangers out there. And so I am going to give you some freedom. But what's your plan to prevent yourself from getting involved in those things that aren't helpful for you? I'd like to hear him articulate those things.
Right.
Okay? So when you take away things, try to do it in such a way that you're having him earn them back.
Okay. Now, how about as far as him picking his friends? Because they're, it seems that he really doesn't have anybody. If he does, where the mom, where the parents are involved in their life, and they seem to be a good family value family, they're not the ones really he chooses. He has friends that he'll see once in a while like that, but they're not his everyday buds. He prefers to be where there's little parent supervision. They're the homes that he tends to frequent.
Okay, and how do you know that?
Because I know, sometimes either I drop him off, or I pick him up, or I come and check on him, and I question, I'm still one that, if you're going to this friend's home at night, I want to make sure a parent, have them call me, and he thinks I'm ridiculous. But he's gotten used to me doing that.
Good. It's excellent.
So,
you want to hold him accountable, and I think it's good. Say, look, you can only go over to a friend's house if I know that the parent's going to be there. So before you go, you want to go over to a friend's house, I'm okay with that, but only if I talk to the parent first. I would go a step further and say, I'd like to know that a parent's going to be over there. And then here's what I would say to the parent. I would say to the parent, I just want you to know my son's going to come over to your house. He has a tendency sometimes to get involved in things that haven't been good. Seems like right now he's on the right track, but he's the kind of guy that we really need to watch. So if he's coming over to your house, I'd really appreciate it if you'd keep an eye on him and not give him a lot of unchecked freedom.
Right, and I've done that. I have done that.
Great. That becomes part of the condition for him to have more freedom. If he says, I want to go over to my friend's house on Friday night, you say, okay, I think I'm ready for that. Well, here's what I'd like you to do. Call your friend, get your friend's mom's phone number, give it to me.
Sure.
I'll call the mom's friends, the mom of your friend, and talk to them. And if she's going to be there, or there's a parent there, then I'm okay with you going over to a friend's house.
Exactly.
Let's work on that. I think that could be okay.
But, right. When he ends up, though, sometimes he ends up, though, somewhere else. You know, and then it's after the fact that I explain to him, which I know that I've explained this before. I don't want you at someone's house where there's no parent home. I don't want you really going anywhere else without asking, you know, but it's after the fact then.
Okay.
So that's happened several times.
All right. And
where he ends up, you know, I bring him to one place and he ends up sometimes on the other side of town.
Okay.
I don't even know how he got there. I mean, he tells me he got a ride from so-and-so or he rode his bike but he's, you know, he rides his bike all over the place.
So I would say, David, if you want the freedom to be outside of our home, you have to have the responsibility of checking in. It's a safety thing. You can,
and that's why I will go and check on him.
It's not just safety of your body. I'm concerned about your heart. And that's why I'm checking up on you. And so if you say you're going to a friend's house and I am to pick you up over some other part of town and you haven't told me that you were going over there or talked to me about doing that, then that's violating our agreement here. And that's when I'm going to pull in some more restriction and not give you freedom. Freedom is conditional. I'm willing to give you some freedom, but I can't give you freedom if you're not willing to abide by the principles that make that freedom work.
Correct.
Okay, very important, especially at 14 years old, because there's a lot of problems you can get into at 14. As you know, there are a lot of bad decisions that you can make in these next couple years that can affect the rest of your life.
Correct.
So it's very important to, I would say, to be on top of him more.
Explaining that more.
Yeah, and you don't have to feel bad that you have to be on top of him if he's not being responsible. And it's a continual job that you have. You just have to do it. That's part of being a parent. But you remember when your kids were like 2, 3 years old and they were playing in the other room, you could only go away for a little bit. You'd have to be back to check on them. But when they got to be 6, 7, or 8, you could leave them in the other room. It was fine. Now when they're teenagers, you got to be back on them like when they were younger. You've got to be watching them. It's really important that they have this sense,
That's normal. Okay.
Yes, it is. You can't feel like your parenting job's over because he's a teenager now, man. It's intense. No. And so you're going to be working with him to make that happen. I just want to talk to you about a couple of things in regards to his heart, because I really think you can capitalize on these things. It'll draw you closer to him, and it'll help him see some things that'll help him to be more internally motivated. That's what you want. Instead of, right now he's pretty externally motivated because he's relying on parental prompters or grades in order to move forward or rewards to get to the next step. And he's just driven that way. So what we want to do, this is a great time to do this in his life. It is to help him understand more about the internal motivation, because he's developing into the person that he's going to be for the rest of his life. And he doesn't have to rely on external rewards or people's opinions or some kind of prompting to get things done. He can be internally motivated. That's what maturity is. So I would want to talk to him about that. And you're telling me a couple things about him already that show me that his heart, that there's some good things happening in his heart. One is you're telling me that he's proud when he does well. And what that means is that in his conscience, God has given him a conscience. It's part of the heart. And in his conscience, when he does the right thing, he feels good about it. God has given him that conscience to give him this good feeling when he's done what's right. So Paul in Acts 23:1 says, I fulfilled my duty before God in all good conscience to this day. What Paul is doing is he's calling on his conscience to reaffirm the fact that he's done the right thing. And when your son is proud that he did the right thing, what he's saying is, I feel good about myself when I do the right thing. So you want to say, when he does an 87 on a test and he comes in and says, Mom, look, I got an 87 on a test. Your words need to be something like this. Wow, son, it feels good to do the right thing, doesn't it? Does that make sense?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
My dog. Wait, hang on one second.
I didn't ask her if she had any dogs living in the house when I asked her who was living in the house.
Sorry about that.
So, okay, so you have a dog living in the house too. I didn't ask you about that. All right.
Yes, I forgot to mention it.
That's okay. So do you understand? Your comments at that point are not, you make me so happy, that's external motivation, or, oh, you got a good grade, you got an A, congratulations, that's external motivation. What you're saying is, doesn't it feel good?
You worked hard and look at how it pays off.
Yes. It feels good to do the right thing. When you work hard like that, this is the reward you get of working hard. It doesn't have anything to do with getting an A or a B. It has to do with the fact that you worked hard, and this is the product of working hard. Good job.
Right. Well, we just had that conversation of how much better it feels, and because he wanted to, of course, last weekend, he wanted to go to this party, and unfortunately he couldn't because he lost that freedom. So, but it feels good when we do talk to him about that, and we don't say that it makes us happy. I mean, really, it's more that, look, David, see what you can do. Good. See what you're capable of doing when you apply yourself, and doesn't that feel better? When the teacher is happy or the coach is pleased, or isn't that, gives you more energy?
Yeah, that's good. So I like what you're doing, and I would just add to that, for his spiritual formation, you want to talk about the conscience and the heart, because those are things that God is really interested in. And he's going to hear more about that as he grows up, as he learns more about his conscience and about the heart. Pastors will talk about it in their sermons and so on. So it'll resonate with him. So as part of David's spiritual formation, I would talk to him. God has placed a conscience in you to help you do the right thing. And when you get a good grade on a paper because you worked hard, the conscience affirms you. I'll tell you what else will affirm you. When you go over to a friend's house and you make the choice to walk away when they're going to do some vandalism or they're going to do something wrong, you can feel good in your heart that you've done the right thing. That's God has placed a conscience inside of you to help you, guide you when you're not around parents or other authorities. You see, it's internal motivation. God has placed that inside your heart. Does that make sense?
That's great, yeah.
The other thing you're telling me is that he responds to correction with some form of remorse or compliance or something like that.
Yes.
That's very important. Okay, again, I would want to affirm him in that regard and say to him that he has a soft heart when it comes to correction. And you really value that. That's going to take him a long way. There's humility required to do that. There's courage involved in that. And so that's something that God values in a person's life. So God is very interested in the heart of a person. And he loves a contrite heart.
Yeah.
So that's very important. It's not just the outward worship that God likes, but he delights in a heart that's responsive. And correction and responding well to correction is a sign of that.
Yeah.
I would suggest that one of the things that you want to partner with David in is honor. So just as a closing suggestion here, I would encourage you to work on honor with David. We have a book. You may even have that book. Do you have the book, Say Goodbye to Whining, Complaining, and Bad Attitudes in You and Your
Bad Attitudes, yes.
Okay. Yes. I would take that book, and I would read the first 3 chapters. I'd read them with him. I would certainly read the book yourself, but take parts of it that you think would be helpful and ask him to enter into an agreement of honor with you. What that means is that you have to do your job as a mom. And you have to discipline him, you have to correct, you have to set limits, you have to give instructions and chores and so on. But you're going to work on honoring him in the process. That means you're not going to yell at him or belittle him or make sarcastic remarks or anything like that.
Okay.
In response, you're going to ask that he treat you with honor too. That he has a job as a child, and that is to do the things that need to be done. Go to school, do chores, follow instructions, be corrected. All of those things are important, but ask that he would do that with honor. Let's try to do that because that's going to strengthen the relationship we have together. Honor is a mutual response that we can have between parent and child, and it goes a long way to increase the relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I did read the book, and I am going to get it out and read with him, and we do read together, so it won't seem foreign to him.
Good. There are certain chapters there that I think you'll find more productive to read with him than others, but I would certainly spend some time in those. There's also a chapter on teenagers that you guys might enjoy reading together. He might like the chapter on honor-based parenting because he'll see what you need to do too, and often young people like to see that. But it's a great way for you to teach him that you guys are growing together in this subject. This isn't a one-way street where we're demanding it. We're saying, let's give it to each other. That's part of what we are as a family, to make this work.
Well, he does, I don't know how to explain it, kind of reprimands us sometimes.
Okay, well that...
And that, well, you're not doing this. Well, you said, well, why can you have that? He'll question us.
Okay,
as
some
parents.
of that can be good, and I think it's worth dialogue and talk about, but when it crosses the line of using those things to skirt his own issues or to try to get out of trouble or something, then he's missing the point. So we can talk about my weaknesses, and I'll let you talk to me about those. I'll be willing to listen to what you have to say. We'll dialogue about those, but that is an excuse for you to do the wrong thing. We're also going to be working on what you need to do here too. So it's a two-way street. We'll grow together. I think with young people you have to do a lot more dialogue about things, and remember, your goal is to change his heart. I would suggest, just from what you're telling me, both that you have some really good parenting skills that you're using with David, and it sounds to me like David is responsive in enough ways that I think there's a lot of hope here for you guys to stay together and keep hanging in there and working on this for another couple of years at least before you make a decision to do something more drastic. Okay, remember, we're working on this for the long term here, not just short term. We're working on the long term. So you're building a relationship now that you'll have with him years from now when he's in his 20s and so on. So that's what we got to be thinking about here. We're going to set some limits, we're going to develop honor, and we're going to grow in those relationships together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, yes, it makes sense, and it seems, there's a lot I'm not doing. So I think more communication and that's going to help.
Yeah, good.
And really what to communicate about. So there were a lot of points that I, wrote down.
Good.
And I think that is part of my problem. Good. That I'm just at the point where I'm just, I demand it, and this is how it's going to be, and I'm done.
Great.
And I don't really get into that conversation because I'm so already, felt like I've been through the ringer. So.
Okay.
But if I could start that out before I get upset, to that conversation and talking about these, what I'm looking for, and not just behavior but internal, that's going to be a big help.
Good deal. All right. Well, Lord bless you. Hang in there, and the Lord will do some good work in your life, both in you and in your son, as you continue to serve him and do what's right in this whole thing, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. You take care now.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.